at us with our fancy new intro. Thank you so much to Trent Tazian for providing that, and you'll see the nifty outro as well. You're watching Deprogram with Ted Rall and John Kiriakou. It's Monday, October 27th, 2025. Good morning, John.
There we go. Can you?
I hear you perfectly. Oh, John has frozen.
There we go. Sorry, everybody. I'm in a hotel in I'm in a hotel in Salamanca, Spain for this week. So I apologize if my connectivity is not up to par. I mean, I have 4 bars, but I suspect I'm gonna have a lot of trouble today and tomorrow. And
this is what happens when you co-host a show with an international man of mystery. You know. Oh, I'm in Salamanca. Duh. Anyway, that's how it goes. All right, lots to talk about today. We are going to be talking about Argentina, where inexplicably the Argentine voters have seen fit to give a sweeping landslide victory to a president who seems to be sliding their country into becoming a vassal state of Donald Trump while destroying the entire economy even worse than it was before. But we'll get into that. Trump and China are having a meeting. President Xi and he are meeting this Thursday. Of course, the ongoing trade tensions are still going on. Looks like they're kicking the can down the road again. There's been some arrests in that jewel heist from the Louvre. John, did you know that the Louvre didn't insure the stolen items? I mean,
they didn't.
I don't know
anybody would ever have the guts to try to steal them. They were not insured. And I'll tell you what, the only English language news station that I get here in Salamanca is the French news.
John, you're a little frozen right now. You are frozen, more than a little frozen. Let's go. I'm going to go ahead and pop Robbie on so I have someone to talk to. Maybe you might have to hit refresh on that. That helps sometimes. Hey, Robbie.
Hello again.
That happens sometimes. Yeah,
it does. Yeah, you got to wonder what's going to be better: Afghan internet, Mexican internet, or Spanish internet.
It looks like it's going to be Afghan for the win. I was amazed at how good the Afghan internet connection was, and that was a while ago, right? The last time. It looks like John's still frozen here. Here he goes. All right, let's bring him back in. Hey, John. There's 2 Johns. I'm getting rid of old John.
Spinning.
He's spinning. We're all spinning. I spin, you spin. There, John. There you are. You were frozen before.
Sorry, guys. Sorry, everybody. So I was saying, I was watching the French news, and it's just as interesting for what's not being said as what's being said. So they caught one guy at Charles de Gaulle Airport on his way to Algeria, and he has both French and Algerian passports. They found another guy. They're still looking for 2, but they haven't told us yet if they've recovered any of the loot. They haven't said a word about it, which makes me think it's gone.
It makes me think that too. Not to mention, they don't have all of the people who were involved. I've read a lot of interviews, I'm sure you did too, John, by convicted jewel thieves. And they were saying the first thing you do after a heist like this is you offload, you fence the goods. You have the fence ready to go before you do the heist. And so you wouldn't likely have the goods on you in case you get arrested, right? I mean, so it seems like, I guess the question here is this a Saudi sheikh who basically wanted these for his personal vault? Or is this just a attempt to, are these gems all going to be cut down?
Right. One of my best friends in prison was
Okay, John, frozen again. If you can hear me, please refresh. That's the there you go.
Yeah.
John,
our biggest individual diamonds. No, you can't hear me?
Very little.
Can you
Like
hear me?
you're breaking up really bad.
Yeah, it's in and out. Why don't we, John? Why don't we
Try it on
the?
my phone.
Okay. Oh, great. But okay, so Robbie and I'll keep talking about the jewel thief while you do that. All right. Yeah, try it on the phone. I'm going to take John out here. Okay. So, yeah.
Excuse me.
Oh, here we go. Here's John. Dun 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 dun. Hopefully, we'll have all these kinks worked out.
Can you see me?
Not yet. There you are.
Okay. Yeah. I'm gonna try it on my phone. There we go. I hope that's better. So I was saying that Art Rachel, one of the most noted jewel thieves of the second half of the 20th century, was a good friend of mine in prison. So shout out to Art. He and 3 accomplices stole the Star of Marlborough, the biggest single diamond ever stolen. And they unloaded it immediately, went straight to Heathrow Airport, and fled. But somebody saw them getting out of their disguises and reported their rental car, to the police. The cops were waiting for him in Chicago when he landed at O'Hare, and he was extradited to the UK, where he spent the next 10 years in prison. But they never recovered the diamond. And I said to him, Art, I said, come on, man. All these years have passed. What'd you do with it? And he smiled at me and he said, all I'm going to say is I lived a lot of good years on that rock. So my guess is that those stones have already been cut down or in the process of being cut down. Nobody's ever going to see the crown jewels of France ever again.
So the French people are understandably rip shit about all this. I mean, it's a huge insult to national pride. It's a statement of competence. We had kind of talked about this the first day this news broke, about the political implications. I mean, President Macron is already not very popular, to say the least. And so this just sort of brings home the sense that the French government doesn't really know what they're doing. Although the Louvre, strictly speaking, isn't the French government, but still, it kind of is,
right.
Ish. And so I mean, can you imagine? I mean, literally, you didn't insure them. Why would you even display them if you can't afford to insure them? Why not just keep them in a vault?
It's true, man. It's ridiculous. It's like if the Smithsonian didn't insure the Hope Diamond, it doesn't make any kind of sense at all.
It's so dumb. And John, just so you know, we cannot see you right now. There you are. Okay, now we do. Yeah. All right. So we're going to continue to watch this. Obviously, they're looking for additional suspects. Wonder, the takeaway for me is that these guys, John, you don't see you now. These guys were, they didn't wear masks. Right?
No.
So facial recognition, probably.
DNA. The French government already said these guys left DNA all over the place. They didn't even wear gloves.
So, I mean, this is one of I feel myself flashing back to Luigi Mangione, right? At first we think this guy's a master criminal, right? He did everything right and he's not going to get caught. But then he pulls a couple of really boneheaded moves, really like 3 or 4, right? He drops his mask to show his face to the lady at the youth hostel on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. He goes to Pennsylvania and basically hangs out at Mickey D's on his laptop, and he leaves a bag of stuff in Central Park. None of which he had to do, right? He could have easily not done that. So it's kind of like genius or idiot. And then here, I mean, these guys got like mad credit for the execution of the robbery, but leaving DNA, leaving tools, dropping one of the key jewels and leaving it behind. Like several thieves were like, "What are you talking about? Who would do that?" And and then no face masks, right? I mean, so I guess, you got to know some criminals. You talked about knowing a jewel thief in prison. So is that kind of just like the human condition? Like we're all capable of great genius and idiocy, and these guys are just no different than that?
Yes. The easy answer is yes. In addition, you have to be sociopathic in order to be calm enough as you're carrying out the act, the robbery, to make sure not to panic and then to cover all your bases. For example, a sociopath wouldn't allow the adrenaline to cloud his judgment.
Mm.
The sociopath would stop and pick up the jewel that he dropped. The sociopath would have planned this out better, would have been wearing a mask and gloves and a hairnet so as not to leave DNA. There's this
Right.
famous story of what's his name from the first moon landing, Neil Armstrong. Buzz Aldrin was landing the craft on the moon, and he was starting to panic, and he said, I don't think I can do it. I don't think I can do it. So Neil Armstrong took over for the last 10 seconds, and NASA said later that his heart rate actually went down as he was landing the craft because he has sociopathy.
So is it
The
possible
fight
that
or
Neil?
flight thing is disengaged.
But is it possible that Neil Armstrong's heart rate went down because when he took control, he was less scared than he was like, oh, well, I can do this. Buzz is about to crash us on the moon.
I guess anything's possible.
That's really interesting. I think we're all really too influenced by like Hollywood movies, right? Where you get like Ocean's 11 or The Bourne Identity, and like these guys, they're superhuman and they do everything perfectly. And in fairness to The Bourne Identity, he's written to be a superhuman, right? He's genetically modified to be a superhuman. But like we don't really see that. We just sort of, we're so used to, like in the 70s in the horror movie, where like the girl would turn around and trip while being chased. We'd be like, why are you turning around? Don't make it. But people make mistakes. That's just how we are.
Yeah. People make mistakes. It's human nature.
We have a donation from FUSO. Thank you very much. Is there still gold in Fort Knox? Is the question. My understanding is yes.
I've always heard yes. Yeah, it's the National Repository.
I also, I knew someone who worked at the Federal Reserve Bank in New York City. And she said it was really fascinating. They have gold that's assigned to certain banks. And basically there's like a grid on the floor, and basically like on tape. And the gold is moved like on, at least this is how it used to be. They may not do this anymore, but they used to move it physically. Like like, let's say Bank of America ends up, getting money from Wells Fargo, gold transfer or whatever, or to the Republic of, Rwanda. They have a tape on the floor. They move it on like a skid over to there physically. And they literally, and I have seen one time I used to work at Bear Stearns in the mid 80s. And I watched gold being unloaded from the back of like a armored truck, and they were on skids, and the ingots were massive. It took 2 or 3 big dudes to carry one. It looked like I couldn't say, but I'd say at least 100 or maybe 200 pounds. And I was kind of like thinking, wow, they're just doing this right on the street while I'm going to lunch. Like I'm walking right by, like 10 feet away, no armed guards, but I'm like, its weight is its own protection, right? How far are you getting carrying that thing? If I grab it, I'm not going anywhere. I mean, it weighs hundreds of pounds.
Yeah, right. How far are you going to go with gold?
That's why paper money was invented.
You're better
right?
off stealing Bitcoin.
That's why Genghis Khan invented paper money.
That's right.
FUSO, it says, in a movie about yourselves, who would you want to play you? How about Will Ferrell as John Brennan?
Yeah. I always said I would want Bette Midler to play me.
I want Keanu Reeves so I look better in the movies than I look in real life.
I'll tell you the truth. My agent was at a dinner a couple of weeks ago, and she ran into Jake Gyllenhaal. And she said, Jake, haven't seen you in a while. What are you working on? And he said, I took a year off. It's kind of stretching into 2 years. But I'm thinking of doing something different. He said, I've never done anything in the espionage area. And she said, oh, I've got a guy you're going to want to meet.
Oh,
And so
great.
she mentioned me, and he said, oh, I know that guy. I've seen him on YouTube. And so next time I
wow.
go out, we're gonna all have lunch. Yeah.
Maybe he watches this show. If so, hi, Jake. Love your stuff.
Yeah, same here.
Question for this is from AH89 on YouTube for you. Have you seen The Diplomat on Netflix? If so, does it show a realistic depiction of day-to-day in a foreign embassy?
Yes, it's an outstanding show. I have to say, I've been pleasantly surprised. But it specifically shows the day-to-day life in a large embassy, like a large strategically located embassy. So we're not talking about the American embassy in Bahrain here, but we are talking about the American embassy in, Cairo, London, Paris, Moscow, Beijing. Yes, it's an outstanding show.
However, how realistic, I have to ask you this, because when I saw it, I had trouble with this. How realistic is the plot line that, she's a badass former, globe-trotting, war zone chick, and that she ends up in that position, ambassador to the court of St. James?
No. Yeah, not going to ever happen. No. More likely is that the person appointed ambassador to the court of St. James is a golfing buddy of the president.
That was my take as well. I was just like, I'd like to live in a world where the government has such cool people, but I'm like,
yeah.
And F you. So, will you ever see Macron's crown jewels? I think it's Mrs. Macron's crown jewels that are in question, right? And they've been recently inspected, from what I understand. She submitted to a physical examination in her lawsuit against, was that Laura Loomer, or who was it that she's suing?
No, it's the African American woman. What's her name? She's newly Catholic. I forget her name. Yeah, and they sued her in Delaware, which I didn't understand at all why they would sue her in Delaware.
Huh.
But anyway, yeah.
I wonder if there's
like to a Candace.
That's it.
Yeah, thank you. Submit to a physical exam, and I'm just not seeing what Candace Owens' defense is going to be.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty tough. Yeah, I mean, I think she can try. I mean, if Delaware has an anti-SLAPP statute, that's probably her best bet.
Right.
To derail a legitimate law. That's basically used to derail legitimate lawsuits more than anyone cares to admit. Godna says, didn't Trump say he was personally going to go see the gold in Fort Knox? Whatever came to that, I don't think he went.
Yeah. No,
he just says
he
lots
did say
of things.
that, but I don't think he went. Yeah.
Hexanasi is asking you, John, have you reacted to Tucker's 9/11 episode 5 where you feature prominently?
Yes, I'll react now. I was absolutely brilliant in that 5th episode. No, kidding. I was surprised that he used me as much as he did. I didn't say anything new, but it's kind of nice to have everything all in one place. He did a beautiful job on that documentary. Frankly, he asks a lot of the questions that the rest of us would like to have answers to, but we don't want to be accused of being subscribers to conspiracy theories. He's done a great job of laying it all out there, to the point where Senator Ron Johnson, the Republican from Wisconsin, is talking about reestablishing the 9/11 Commission, but doing it right this time. So we'll see.
By the way, all that stuff is available on Rumble, Robbie is saying. So for those who want to check it out. It's funny. Yeah, it's I think it's always great to have everything in one place. I always said that about Howard Zinn's People's History of the United States. It's like, if you're well educated, you already know about America's genocide against the Native Americans, and you know about American imperialism and all that stuff. But the service that's provided here is that it puts everything in one place. So, and that is no small thing.
Can you hear me, Ted?
Yeah, I hear you.
Oh, good. Good. I feel like I cut out there for a minute.
You did for a second. All right.
Yeah,
So what do you want to talk about?
I agree with you. I'm glad that people like Tucker are taking this seriously.
So shall we talk about Argentina, the China trade war, or this weird story from the Cook Islands? John, do you hear me?
I'm sorry, you cut out. And yeah,
Oh,
were you talking about the U.S. China?
Do you want to talk about? Yeah, do you want to talk about this weird story from the Cook Islands, Argentina, or U.S. and China?
Because nobody ever speaks about the Cook Islands, let's talk about the Cook Islands. I actually have some familiarity because until recently, I was associated with a company named Panquake. And Panquake is registered in the Cook Islands for a bunch of reasons. But I've come to the personal belief this company is not legit. But it's almost impossible to sue because it's in the Cook Islands. With that said, the Cook Islands is an offshore banking center, and they are increasingly closely working with the Australians, the New Zealanders, the Americans, and the British to cancel the accounts of companies that they believe are not completely on the up and up. So kudos to the Cooks.
So let's talk about the Cook Islands. So right off in their international waters of the Cook Islands, in their waters, I should say, their domestic waters. This is in the middle of the Pacific Ocean between New Zealand and Hawaii. There are these polymetallic nodules, which are these round balls that basically contain critical minerals like cobalt, manganese, nickel, which are ironically, and you'll see why I'm going to say ironically, are necessary for clean energy and AI, but particularly clean energy and also defense. So anyway, the US and China are kind of sparring over who gets to do deep sea mining in these waters. Basically, there's sort of a bribe taking place. The U.S. is paying a very small fee, $250,000 to the Cook Islands for "quote unquote" technical assistance. That's just basically a tiny user's fee. And anyway, the thing is, it's controversial because, and here's the ironic part, because as Doug Macaulay, who's a UC ocean science professor, says, quote, "The mining that's being proposed would happen in some of the most fragile or least resilient ecosystems on the planet," saying that he's really worried about wastewater plumes that would be discharged into the sea following the extraction of the minerals. So the irony here is that to achieve clean energy, we're going to go crap up the bottom of the deep sea.
Mm-hmm. An especially vulnerable part of the deep sea.
So this is I guess, but the Cook Islands has much closer relations to the U.S. than China, right?
Yeah, much closer. But the Chinese do 90-something% of the world's rare earth mining. Mm-hmm. They've got it down to a science. And the thing is mining for rare earth metals above water is insanely expensive. It's a major money loser, but these ores are so important to everything from missile systems, guided missile systems, to auto parts and radio transistors and everything in between, that the Chinese see it as an investment to have a monopoly on it, even if it loses money, because it keeps the U.S. at bay. So the U.S., believe it or not, buys most of its rare earth metals from China for our guided missile systems and drones and stuff like that. It's just crazy.
So, I mean, the Cook Islands, basically, their history is mainly their recent history is that they were a British colony. And New Zealand, of course, which is part of the Commonwealth, also, owned them for a while. The French had them briefly, but it's Western, right? I mean, so how does China flex its muscle in this particular arena? I mean, they can claim like we have the arena. We have the experience, and they definitely need that. They need it more. They need it and want it more than we do, right? Is that enough? I mean, or are they just going to do what they do with the Belt and Road Initiative and sort of rent the Cook Islands? Like say, you guys look like you really need a lot of great infrastructure. How would you like a completely up-to-date cell phone grid? How would you like new schools? Is that basically how that's going to go?
Absolutely. Mr. Outstraight says China has soft power mastered. Amen. They really know how to do it right. Talk about a velvet glove. They're happy to spend money all over the planet. They're good at it. And I think that's what it's going to end up being, Ted. They're going to rent the Cook Islands for a little while. And they'll pay them more money than they've ever had before. And they'll be able to further develop the islands and really economy for themselves. And what does the U.S. promise? What?
Yeah.
Support for
democracy? Or maybe
democratic.
Knowing Donald Trump, maybe some idle threats. Or not so idle threats. I mean, this isn't even a main topic today, but let's talk about what's going on in the Southern Caribbean, right? So Frasmataz says he watched DD Geopolitics. They played a speech of the president of Colombia saying that Venezuela and Colombia are now under one Bolivarian revolution together. They're both left-wing socialist, sort of leaders. And, they're both being targeted by Trump. They're both having boats carrying their nationals blown up by American drones. And I don't know if they've just used anything beyond drones to pull these off. Maybe they've used fighter jets as well. But there's no end in sight. I mean, and there's more and more troops on their way, right? This is beginning to really look, it's either the biggest bluff in the world, or it's really starting to look like, the staging point of a possible invasion of Venezuela.
Yeah, I know we talked about this a little bit last week, but I'd like to reiterate what I said and maybe go a little bit deeper. I believe we're going to attack Venezuela. I don't believe that we'll use enough troops that people will be able to say that it's a full-scale ground invasion. But I don't think you need a ground invasion. I think you need, like we said last week, to control the major intersections, to control the radio and television stations, and to secure the presidential palace. It would behoove Donald Trump, I think, if he has already made a decision to do this, to allow Nicolas Maduro to leave. I think arresting him, killing him, charging him with something, I think would be a big mistake. But I think a decision's been made to overthrow that government. I hate to say it.
And I guess the question is, and I'm not 100% sure, but I feel like I'm definitely 51% in agreement with you or more, right? Like probably more likely than not. I guess the preponderance of the evidence suggests yes, but Trump also likes to create crises and then negotiate from that position of strength, right? Like. Yeah. So that's also a strong possibility as well.
Absolutely. Yes.
He likes to be taken seriously. Like we're not, like we've got troops right on your border. What would an invasion? It's not going to be a coup. If the U.S. attacks Venezuela, it's going to probably be an air campaign.
Yes.
And that's probably not going to be enough. Historically, air campaigns have rarely been enough to topple a government. I mean, the government of Serbia might be a rare exception.
Yeah, rare. But we bombed. Meant that we were bombing Iraq into the Stone Age. Well, I mean, we bombed Iraq a lot, and they still had a lot of fight left in them.
Well, don't forget, and of course, as you well know, John, Bill Clinton bombed Iraq all throughout his 2 terms in office, and nobody was paying attention to that. And it got to the point where American pilots were coming home with their bombs still attached, still in the bay, because they were running out of targets. I mean, and that's before George W. Bush ever took the oath of office. And it just didn't work. I mean, I think what happens is when a foreign country is bombing your country, it's your government's firefighters who come to put out the blaze. It's your government's police who come and restore order. It's your government that provides any kind of aid. And this other government is just bombing you. You're not likely to ever. It's very unusual for anyone to sort of have a different point of view. I mean, the only story I've ever heard like that was my mother told me her family was living in Saint-Nazaire in Brittany, and during at the end of World War II, and there was a German U-boat base there, and the Allies, the RAF and the U.S. Army Air Force, were bombing the shit out of Saint-Nazaire. Saint-Nazaire has almost no historic buildings predating World War II because the Allies pretty much leveled it to try to get that submarine base, right, to get the Germans out of there. She said that her family and all of their neighbors would go out into the streets and blow kisses at the Allied pilots and cheer them and thank them as their own homes were burning, because they knew that, like, this is going to be how we get rid of the Krauts, right? Like, this is it. Like, this is great. We don't like, fuck our homes. Like, we only care about having the Germans out of here. I think the fantasy for, people who work at the Air Force, the generals there, is always like, we can replicate that. Like, we'll create that kind of politics on the ground. But it's 99% of the time that's not true.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. It's not true. That's why when you're sitting in meetings and you hear people say, as soon as we cross that border into Iraq, they're going to throw flowers at us, or, oh, the Iranian people are going to throw flowers at us when we liberate them from these ayatollahs. It's like, do you people know nothing about history? Nothing.
They think it's D-Day, like where cute French girls are going to climb on top of their tanks. Like,
exactly.
It's not like that.
Nope, not going to happen.
MT16N7, thank you very much for the very generous donation of $20. What do we think about the Chagos Islands deal? I'm worried about potential growing Chinese influence there. Also, John, are you still on Minect?
Oh, yeah, I'm still on Minect. Actually, I'm ranked number 1 this month. The second time in 3 months that I'm list. Answer all Minects. I have like 8 of them waiting for me to answer, which is funny because I'm going to say 50% of the questions are essentially the same question. How do I get into the CIA? And then Minect, it's funny. It gives you the opportunity to post your response as a public response. It's like, why would I do that? That's half my income right there. Yeah, but people all ask the same questions. How can I get into the CIA?
That is funny. So,
I'm
are you familiar with
these islands too, though?
Do tell.
Yeah, I am. See, this is one of the reasons why the Australians and the Filipinos are so worried about the Chinese, because the Chinese are expansionists, right? We've talked about this before. Tibet aside, there was a border skirmish in the 70s with the Vietnamese. There have been a couple of border skirmishes as recently as about 6 months ago with the Indians. They have one military base. That's one they share with us, interestingly enough, in Djibouti. So they're not really expansionist until they are expansionist, in which case they seem to be wanting to expand, but doing it with a smiling face and an outstretched hand full of cash, trying to make friends where the United States has made enemies. And so I'm genuinely worried about this. Robbie made a point in our chat that he says, is this the U.S. trying to starve China of oil since they buy so much from Venezuela, referring to Chinese activity in Venezuela and the Caribbean. Yeah. And the Chinese also built a refinery in the Caribbean, in like Trinidad and Tobago or Turks and Caicos or something down there, for the very same reason. So they have found that the U.S. policy of using an iron fist does not work over the long term. But if you essentially rent a country's infrastructure and smile and make sure the payment comes on time, everybody's going to run to China. I think that's what we're looking at
let's
here.
talk about the Chagos Islands, right? So the Chagos Islands are in the middle of the Indian Ocean.
Yes.
From an American, sort of playing a game of risk from an American policy perspective, all eyes go to the U.S. Naval base at Diego Garcia, which is, sure, it's not right next door because nothing's right next door to anything out there. But basically, this very strange kind of thing that basically the Chagos Islands recently, the UN body the UN basically ruled recently that this belongs to Mauritius, right? And so the thinking is that Mauritius is a stalking horse for China, and that they're basically doing China's bidding. The Mauritanians completely deny this, and they say, we don't know what the fuck you're talking about. The Chagos Islanders say, there's nothing to this. You guys are a bunch of fucking paranoid freaks. What's the story? I mean, what do you think is actually going on here? Who do you believe?
I think the Chinese probably are trying to at least probe to see if there's an opportunity for them. They've long been bothered by the U.S. presence in Diego Garcia. For many, many years, Diego Garcia was just a backwater. It was known for this, unusual tribe, this Arab tribe that didn't have much contact with the outside world. They had some, but not much. There was a British military base there for a long time. They have very unusual flora and fauna. So, National Geographic would take groups there. And then immediately post 9/11, the U.S. said to the Brits, we want Diego Garcia and we want the whole thing. And so not only did we rent Diego Garcia from the British, but we opened an enormous airfield there. And that's supposed to be our primary, one of our 2 or 3 primary bases in South Asia or Southwest Asia. The Chagos Islands are well positioned for the Chinese because they're relatively close to India. And the Indians and the Chinese have not gotten along in many, many decades. And so I think this is something the Chinese probably want very much. Not necessarily so out loud in public, but I think that it's very strategic for them. It would be a very important acquisition if they could somehow get a toehold there.
Yeah, like New Caledonia or Réunion for France. The only reason to hold on to those. If memory serves, parenthetically, am I remembering correctly that Diego Garcia was a black site during the War on Terror?
Yeah, it was. In fact, the first time a reporter asked me about the black site at Diego Garcia, I said, there's no black site at Diego Garcia. Like, even I was unaware of that. And she said, oh, yeah, there is. And it was years later that I don't even think the CIA ever admitted it. But years later, the consensus in the media was that, yeah, there was a black site at Diego Garcia. Sure.
Thank you, FUSO, for your comment and your donation. Our new Nobel Prize laureate wants the U.S. to bomb and invade Venezuela. That's going to be rough here. I don't see how you can. I mean, here's the question, right? I mean, obviously, Venezuelan politics is hardly monolithically behind its current president, but still, I don't see. I don't see a coup just going and making him blow away.
No.
Do you?
No. Like we said a week or 2 ago, Ted, a lot of Venezuelans who otherwise would oppose Nicolas Maduro are in the United States.
Right.
Or they've left the country.
They're like anti-Castro Cubans.
Yeah, exactly. The anti-Castro Cubans have left. They're all in Miami. Well, it's the same situation with the Venezuelans. If I were
They're
a
always
US
the most.
military planner, forget it. I wouldn't count on anything.
The exiles are
forgive my giant brain.
The exiles are always over the top, right? The exiles are always militants, and they're always willing to fight with other people's lives. That's how it was. That's how my father-in-law, who was a big Taiwan independence activist, of course, living in California, right?
Exactly.
He doesn't. He's like, he doesn't have the Chinese like up his ass, right across the Taiwan Strait. That's always how they are.
Absolutely right. 100%.
So yeah. Go ahead.
I know that I have a question, but I'm unable to see what the question is.
Let me read it to you. Razmataz is asking you, my last few messages about the doomsday continuity of government planes being flown to Qatar and a second to Japan, maybe Trump and Rubio are using them for transport?
It's possible. For transport, it's possible. For continuity of government, no. Those sites are all domestic. The nearest one is Mount Weather, West Virginia. It's right on the Virginia-West Virginia border. And I think we talked about that once.
And there's the big one in Colorado, right?
Big one in Colorado. There are rumors of one up in the Idaho Panhandle. So yeah, there are several all around. It's mostly the president, the vice president, their families, the cabinet, their families, the congressional leadership and their families.
By the way,
and the military.
I'm singularly, after 9/11, I'm singularly unimpressed with continuity of government schemes. I mean, with the benefit of hindsight, like really truly, like, look, the U.S. was 99.99999% intact, right? Bush disappears for an entire day. We don't even have like an Al Haig assuring us that he's in charge and telling us that someone's running the government all day long, right?
Yeah.
Minor little thing, right? Like basically, you lost 4 planes and like a few buildings, and that is going to like put the U.S. government on its heels like that. Yeah, continuity of government is a Cold War fantasy, like hunkering down in the steam tunnels with your dehydrated water biscuits, using your converted toilet seat on top of the old water barrel. Give me a break. It's not going to happen. The whole thing's just going to fall apart.
It's going to fall apart. It's like the escape tunnels under the White House. Have you heard about those? Nixon had those tunnels built, and they haven't been used since Nixon. And he did it not for continuity of government. He did it to escape anti-Vietnam War protesters.
Right. It's like Ceausescu, right? Like the Romanians had all those tunnels all underneath Bucharest, right? And it's like, oh, we'll make our getaway. Didn't go so well. How long did the trial last? 2 hours?
Yep, exactly. I told you about that.
Things fall apart fast there. All right, so we should obviously talk about either Argentina and U.S. China.
Well,
I don't know.
Before we do, I think you need to do an ad.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's a good point. Thanks for that.
Yep.
Robbie, please put up the ad, and I will read that. But okay, so let's talk about Argentina. So, John, please explain this to me. I mean, Javier Milei has granted. Oh, here's the ad. I'll read this. Okay. Still haven't tried 1775 coffee. Now's your shot. The 1775 starter kit just dropped. Only 1,000 units. You're getting the bold dark roast that hits hard, the smooth medium roast, and the Vitality mushroom coffee for clean energy and laser focus, no crash. All single origin, small batch, toxin free and mold free. Plus, you're also getting a gold spoon clip because freedom isn't scooped with plastic. A frother strong enough to stir up your coffee and your mother-in-law's opinions, and the black 1775 tumbler, $170 worth of coffee in years for $99. This is for the ones who've been watching 1775 blow up on Rumble, wondering if it's actually worth it. Spoiler, it is. Go to 1775coffee.com/studio and grab your starter kit before they're gone. Bold beans, clean fuel, and a morning routine that stands for something just like Rumble does. Okay. Argentina, right? Usually I feel like I understand news stories. This one I do not get. So I understand that the Argentinians have been dealing with hyperinflation for years. A triple digit is not unusual. Like 120% annual inflation rate for them is like no bigs. So obviously that's been causing all sorts of hardship. So they turn hard right. They turn to this guy Milei. He imposes harsh austerity measures. It appears by all accounts that he's making things the worse, right? The economy is a disaster. There's mass unemployment. He came begging to Donald Trump for first $20 billion of your and my tax dollars. And now it's doubled to $40 billion. And you know they're coming back for more. So we're bailing out the government of Argentina while our people are sleeping outside. Okay, so, and there's no cops on the subway in New York. But okay, the point is, nevertheless, there's midterm elections. Milei's party, La Libertad Avanza, scores a landslide, 41% of the vote. It's a plurality, multiple party system. And he gets 13 Senate seats, 64 lower house seats. Why is he, why are the why are Argentines turning? Why are they supporting him? Or is it just that the opposition sucks so bad?
Oh, I think, yeah, it's a combination of the two. He has that odd populist support that Trump has. It's sometimes inexplicable. I think the Argentines were very taken by Trump's promise of a $40 billion bailout or a $20 billion bailout. We've heard both numbers. But the opposition is awful. Even the liberal opposition ends up being fascist. They're all corrupt down there. It's been one corrupt administration after another. Half the prime ministers end up in prison. So, yeah, I think that this is a reaction against the status quo. And they're willing to give the guy enough rope to hang himself or to save the country. And let me add one thing. Let's see, who was it? Was it Tammy? Yes, Tammy Landringham. Sin caffeine and sin azúcar. Caffeine free and sugar free. The thing is it's too big.
My question to you, John, is what's the point of Coke without caffeine and sugar?
I just miss soda so much. I haven't had any in like 3 years. So I decided, now I'm going to treat myself and go slowly. But it has to be room temperature because my mini fridge is truly a mini fridge.
That is funny. Frasmatanis is asking.
Can I add something, Ted?
Go.
Robbie is saying, I'm convinced this is Trump trying to lock out the Chinese from Argentine beef and soy exports. Amen. I think it is. The Chinese have had great success in South America, just like they have in the Caribbean and in Central America. And Argentina is one place where Donald Trump can actually do something to keep the Chinese out.
So basically, he's doing the micro Trump version of Belt and Road.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
He's renting Argentina.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what we're seeing.
I like it. That's good analysis. That is good. I like it. But I mean, all right. So I mean, what happens next here, right? I mean, I would think that they're going to turn against him. Well, things are going to get spicy.
They always do.
It's like Macron, right? Look at where he is now. But I mean, he was winning and winning and winning. He had all of French politics all to himself. And then it's kind of like, well, now you break it, you own it completely. And now it's like the anger is going to be that much harsher if he fucks up. And it seems like, I mean, I don't know how he's not going to fuck up. I don't see how a bailout solves the structural problems of the Argentine economy.
God, you're exactly right. It doesn't. It's a temporary fix. I don't know if you've ever been to Argentina, Ted.
Never.
But I was very fortunate to go. It's been a while now. It's been 22 years. 22 years ago I went. And that country has everything. It has mountains. It has access to the ocean. It has fantastic farmland, the Pampas, where they raise all this wonderful cattle, the highest quality, best tasting beef in the world, besides, Kobe beef or Wagyu beef, whatever. It's fantastic. The country has everything to make it go independently of any other relationship. And it's just in a situation of constant failure. Constant failure. And it's because of corrupt leadership. They just keep their act together.
Yeah, corruption's not the problem in France, but France is the same way, right? It's got everything. It's got everything. It's, great
Everything.
geographical positioning, great land,
Yeah.
great variety. It's got that whole like Jared Diamond argument about like why certain countries succeed. You want north-south rivers, you don't want east-west rivers and all that. This is why the U.S. is one of the reasons. I mean, U.S. has amazing geographical positioning. And it's like same thing. I mean, they can't seem to get it together these days.
No, it's true. It's true. And Peru Sataha is making a point. Didn't Trump say that the support is dependent on if Milei wins? Yes. He basically blackmailed the voters? Yes.
But did the
same
voters
kind of voters that couldn't be blackmailed in Canada and Ireland, I might add.
But do the voters listen? I mean, does that work that way? I mean, do you think Argentine voters are like, well, I don't really like this guy. I don't like Javier, but I'm going to vote for him anyway because then we'll get the American support. Do you think they're that strategic? I mean, our voters are not.
Our voters would never, no. Nor would Canada's, nor would most European countries or all European countries. But I think that happened in Argentina. 40 billion rather, in free money. Nothing else worked. And if anything, Milei is different. He's that economic populist. So I read an op-ed the day before, comparing Milei with Huey Long, of all people.
The kingfish.
The kingfish, exactly. Comparing him to the kingfish, with the conclusion being that it's just good old-fashioned conservatism, coupled with a little bit of racism, anti-Chinese racism in this case, and then money changing hands. That's really what it comes down to.
I don't know. I think, Huey Long, I think it's not fair to call him that far right, though. His populism was a little bit more of a blend.
Yeah. He really did have the best interests of the working poor at heart. Yeah. He did.
That's why he had
But he was a ferocious racist, though.
Yeah, he was. Well, how else are you going to become governor of Louisiana? They all back then. I mean, they almost elected David Duke.
Yeah, they did. They
came close.
More than once.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got time. We got time for one more story. So let's get to it. So this is kind of we have to talk about it. So President Xi and President Trump are going to meet on Thursday ahead of the ASEAN summit. And basically, Trump had been threatening, as Trump does. Threatening is his thing. He was threatening 100% tariffs on Chinese imports. Yep. So basically, what we see now is like, Trump likes maybe like, he doesn't really like deals. He likes frameworks for a deal. I have a concept for a deal on healthcare. So he has a concept, or he has a framework, basic deal points, where we're going to pause these tariffs. He didn't say for how many months, but it's a matter of maybe 6 months or 3 months. And that while further discussions happen, he keeps doing this. And TikTok, I lost count of how many times that deadline has been extended. I mean, he's like, seriously, right? He's like my old pothead roommate who was always going to our professors for an extension. And so it's like, so TikTok will eventually, is also going to be supposedly part of this deal where some American companies or investors buy TikTok and, conform to the bill that Congress inexplicably passed in a bipartisan fashion, never bothering to explain to the American people. Obviously, America and China are at inherent loggerheads here, right? Yeah. Is there a world where there can be a grand bargain between China and the U.S. where they literally are like, let's sit down and hammer out something that could last 20 years, where it's like, we're really going to we're going to have Yalta here. We're going to carve up the world we're going to like into economic spheres of influence, and we're going to stop fucking with each other so we can all make more money? Or is that just ridiculous? Ted Rall is high on Monday morning kind of thing.
I don't think it's possible on anything other than trade specifically. So if they're talking only about trade, they're not talking about the military, they're not talking about weapons deals or whatever. Yeah, it's possible on trade. Sure. It would behoove both sides to come to some sort of an agreement. Of course, then it would free us up to deal with our real enemies, like Canada. You know, we we've got a brand new additional 10% tariff on Canada starting yesterday, just because they pissed off Trump with an ad in which they quoted Ronald Reagan accurately. By the way, they quoted Ronald Reagan.
I mean, of course, they didn't just quote him; they ran the speech. Yeah,
yeah, they did. They ran the video. But yeah, I suppose a trade agreement is possible with the Chinese. It would be incredibly complicated. But with 2.5 minutes to go, we should also not overlook Trump's statement this morning that he would be willing to remain in Asia for an extra day or two to meet Kim Jong-un.
And what would be the purpose of that meeting? I mean, I got to say, one of the problems with Donald Trump is he never sticks around, man. He shows up like a fly and then buzzes off to the next thing. Yeah. And it's like, so there's no follow through.
There's no follow through. He is not the detail guy. He wants his underlings to be the detail guys. He wants to get the photo op and be the first president to step in North Korean territory, which he was, and to shake the hands and, make the big promises. But you're right. There's no follow through. And so what would be the purpose of meeting with Kim Jong-un? It would be the photo op. We're not engaged in talks right now with the North Koreans. There's no deal to sign. It would just be the photo op.
No, I mean, North Korea, their relationship with Russia has never been stronger. I mean, to me, Donald Trump has a lot of loose ends, and right now, Russia, Ukraine is the big one.
Big one. Totally agree. Followed closely by Gaza.
Yeah. I mean,
there are no details there. Just fix this, and then he flies off somewhere else.
Yeah. By the way, just parenthetically before we go, I'm noticing like a repeat. When things were getting ugly for Nixon under Watergate, he really dedicated himself to foreign affairs. We see this with presidents do it all the time. It's more satisfying. They get more praise. They get to eat nice meals. They get nice photo ops. Domestic politics kind of just sucks, and it's a no-win situation. We're very early in the Trump administration for that to happen, but he seems to have given up on the U.S.
Yeah, seems to have. Yeah. In the meantime, the government's still shut down and everybody's suffering.
And we'll be talking about that and a million other things tomorrow. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Please like, follow, share, subscribe to the show. Just a reminder, we are remonetized on YouTube. We are here Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern time. We'll be back tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern. Sorry, no show on Wednesday, just to mark that on your calendars, but we'll have some sort of rerun thing. And you guys, certainly the comments section will be open for that. So for those of you who like to get in and talk about stuff, that will be here Wednesday morning. And we'll be back on Thursday. John, always a pleasure. Have a great time in Spain. And let's do the phone again tomorrow, like first thing.
Yeah, we'll do the phone.
Please stay tuned. TMI show with me and Manila Chan coming right up here on Rumble. Stay tuned.